Level 1. The job advert. You are 19 and you have just been offered remote work, part-time, processing payments for a logistics company that has a website and a logo and an address in a city you have never been to. The work is simple. Money arrives in your bank account. You withdraw most of it, keep a percentage, and forward the rest the way you are told, 2 hours a week. The percentage is better than anything else available to you. The word for what you are is a money mule, and you are the most disposable component in the entire structure. Not a member of anything, not told anything. You have no idea whose money that is, and the reason you have no idea is that the arrangement is designed so that you cannot be told. And here is what nobody has mentioned. The money passing through your account is the proceeds of a crime, and the account has your name on it. When investigators pull the trail, and the trail always starts at the point where digital money became physical cash, the first person they find is you. You are not the last step in the chain because you are trusted. You are the last step because the last step is the one that gets caught. That is the lesson of level 1, and it is the same lesson as every criminal hierarchy ever built. You were recruited because you were cheap and legally exposed, and the people above you have arranged things so that your arrest tells investigators almost nothing about them. Level 2, the forum. You are 21, and you have stopped being used and started participating. There is an economy here, and it is a real one. A marketplace of specialists who buy and sell from each other, and who mostly never learn each other's names. Somebody sells stolen card data, somebody sells access, somebody sells the hosting that ignores complaints, somebody sells laundering. Each is a business, each has customers and reviews and reputations, and almost none of them do the whole crime themselves. You start at the bottom of that market, you buy something cheap, use it clumsily, and make a small amount of money. And you learn the first real rule of this world, which is that reputation is the only asset. You cannot sue anyone here. There are no contracts. So the entire economy runs on forum standing, escrow held by third parties, and the fact that a seller who cheats a buyer loses a reputation that took years to build. It is an underground market held together by the same thing that holds legitimate markets together, which is that repeat business is worth more than one theft. That is the lesson of level 2. This is not a gang. It is an industry with a supply chain, and understanding it as a marketplace rather than an organization is the single thing most people get wrong about it. Level 3, the specialist mid-20s. You have picked a lane, because generalists do not do well here. The people who make money are the ones who become very good at one narrow function and sell it to everybody else. The person who finds ways in does not steal the data. The person who steals the data does not launder the money. The person who launders the money never sees a target. You have chosen one of those, and you are now competent at it. You have a handle with history attached, customers who return, and an income that is for the first time regular. You have also stopped being anonymous in the way you imagine you are. You have years of posts. You have a writing style. You have working hours that indicate a time zone and a pattern of activity that indicates a country. Every one of those is a data point, and investigators build cases out of exactly that kind of accumulated residue rather than out of any single mistake. That is the lesson of level 3. Specializing made you valuable, and it made you consistent, and consistency is the thing that identifies people. The version of you that was harmless at level 1 was also unidentifiable. You have traded the second for the first. Level 4, the access broker. You are the person who sells the way in. This is a genuine role with a genuine market, and it is one of the most important nodes in the whole economy. Somebody obtains a foothold in a company's network and does nothing with it at all. No theft, no disruption. They simply establish that they have access, and then they sell that access to somebody else who has plans for it. The prices are not enormous. Access to a mid-sized company changes hands for what a used car costs, and the buyer will use it to do something that costs that company millions. That gap is the most interesting number in this entire video. The person who did the difficult technical part captures a tiny fraction of the damage. The value is captured downstream by people who took less risk to get it. That is the lesson of level 4. You have reached a level where you are essential and still badly paid relative to the harm you enable, and the reason is structural. You sell a commodity into a market with other sellers, and the people who make real money are the ones who assembled the whole operation. Level 5, the affiliate, late 20s. You have joined a program. The modern shape of this industry is franchising. A core group builds the tooling and the infrastructure and the payment machinery, and then recruits affiliates to actually carry out attacks. The affiliate does the work against a victim. The core group provides the platform and takes a cut. Published analyses of these programs have consistently described the affiliate keeping the majority share, commonly something in the region of 70 to 80%, with the remainder going to the operators of the platform. Read that split again, because it is the opposite of what it looks like. It sounds generous to the affiliate. It is actually the core group selling risk. The affiliate is the one committing the intrusion in a jurisdiction against a real company, leaving evidence. The core group runs infrastructure and takes a percentage of everything every affiliate does forever without touching a single victim network. That is the lesson of level 5. You have been given the larger share of each job and the entirety of the exposure. The people who designed the split understood exactly what they were selling, and now the part these videos skip. We have described this from the inside as a career, which is how it feels to the person doing it. So it is worth being precise about who is on the other end, because the answer is not the faceless corporation the forums talk about. Ransomware's most damaging targets have not mostly been banks. They have been hospitals, school districts, municipal governments, water utilities, and small manufacturers, organizations with weak defenses and no capacity to absorb a shutdown. When a hospital's systems go down, ambulances divert, procedures are postponed, and staff work from paper. Research into healthcare ransomware incidents has found measurable degradation in patient care during and after attacks. When a school district is hit, the data released is children's records. When a small manufacturer is hit, the company sometimes does not reopen, and the people who worked there lose their jobs. The affiliate at level 5 does not see any of that. He sees a network, a negotiation, and a number. The distance between his screen and the consequence is the product the whole structure is selling him. Level 6. The negotiator. You have moved off the technical side entirely. Large operations employ people whose whole job is the conversation with the victim. They work from scripts. They have a range they are authorized to accept and tactics for getting there. Deadlines, proof of stolen data, the threat of publication. Some of them are good at it in the way a debt collector is good at it, which is to say they are calm and they never lose their temper. It is a call center. That is the honest description. A criminal call center with performance expectations and a script and a manager, and the person on the other end of the line is an IT director having the worst week of his professional life. That is the lesson of level 6. The industrialization is the point. Everything about this structure exists to turn a crime into a repeatable process that ordinary people can be hired to operate, and ordinary people can be hired for it precisely because the process removes them from the consequence. Level 7. The launderer. You are moving the money, and this is where the whole thing is actually decided. Because the crime is easy and the cash out is hard. Money arrives as cryptocurrency, which is not anonymous. It is the opposite of anonymous. It is a permanent public ledger of every transaction that has ever occurred. Getting value out of that ledger and into a bank account without the path being reconstructible is the genuinely difficult problem, and it is where most operations are eventually broken. So there is an industry for it. Mixing services, exchanges with no verification requirements, chains of intermediate wallets, and eventually a network of mules like the 19-year-old at level 1, and the tracing has become extremely good. Analytics firms and law enforcement have followed funds across thousands of intermediate addresses, seized wallets, and recovered ransom payments months after the fact. The permanent public ledger that made this economy possible is also the most complete evidence archive any criminal industry has ever voluntarily created. That is the lesson of level 7. Every previous level's earnings depend on this one working, and this is the level that is losing steadily to people with better software. Level 8. The core developer. You are inside the group that builds the platform, and you have almost no direct contact with any victim. You maintain code. You run infrastructure. You handle affiliate support. You are, in every functional respect, a software engineer at a small company with an unusual product and no legal existence. The pay is good, and the risk profile is completely different from an affiliate's. You never touch a target network. Your exposure is your association with the group, which means the case against you is a conspiracy case built out of chat logs and payments rather than out of an intrusion. That is the lesson of level 8. This is the first level where the trade actually favors you. Less exposure, more money, and it is available almost exclusively to people with real technical skill. The latter does have a rung where the economics improve. It is just that reaching it requires being genuinely good at something legitimate, which raises an obvious question about why you are here. Level 9. The administrator, you run the operation. Your handle is one that journalists write about and that appears in threat intelligence reports. You set the affiliate split. You decide which targets are off limits, and that decision is worth examining because these groups often did publish rules: no hospitals, no critical infrastructure, no organizations in particular countries, and the rules were regularly broken by affiliates and only sometimes enforced. The rules existed to manage political risk, not to protect anyone. You take a percentage of everything, from everyone, continuously. You are the platform, and you are now a named target of multiple governments, not a criminal suspect in one jurisdiction, a named entity, sanctioned with a bounty in a category normally reserved for hostile states and terrorist financiers. That is the lesson of Level 9. You have reached the top of the earning structure and simultaneously become a foreign policy problem, and foreign policy problems do not get resolved by a defense lawyer. Level 10. What the top actually is. Here is what happened to the people who reached it. Some are under sanctions, which means the legitimate financial system is closed to them permanently. No bank, no property, no travel through any cooperating country. Some are under indictment and absentia, unable to leave a small set of countries for the rest of their lives, because stepping outside means extradition. Some have had their infrastructure seized in coordinated international operations, their servers taken over, and their victim lists handed to the police, occasionally with the investigators posting on the group's own leak site. Some have been arrested, some have been quietly sanctioned by their own governments when they became inconvenient, and several have been robbed or betrayed by their own affiliates because an industry with no contracts and no courts eventually applies that to itself. There is no version of the summit where a man sits on a beach. The best available outcome at the top of this ladder is a permanent, comfortable house arrest inside one specific country, held there not by police but by the certainty of what happens if he leaves. So look back at the 19-year-old with the part-time payment processing job. He was not recruited for skill. He was recruited because his bank account had his name on it and somebody needed a name that was not theirs. Every level after that offered a larger share in exchange for a larger share of the exposure, and the split was always set by whoever was further from the victim. At the bottom, arrested for someone else's money. In the middle, the majority share of each job and all of the risk. At the top, sanctioned, indicted, and unable to board a plane. The people who made the most money in this industry are the ones who never touched a victim network and never touched the cash. The platform operators and the launderers. Everyone else was carrying risk on their behalf and being told it was a generous percentage. If this changed how you think about the phrase remote work, share it. Subscribe if you are new here. Every week we take one structure apart from the bottom up and count out what it actually costs to climb.